Hello, everyone, and welcome to Code with Italians. Today, we're going to do some code, but also some design because we have with us our friend Nick. Right, Nick? Not Rick, Nick.
Well, depends who you ask, actually. I think Rick, some of my colleagues like to call me that, but Nick it is. Nick Rout, yes.
I'm very sorry that I have mistyped your name in the last tweet that I've done.
It's almost like you did that on purpose. I don't know, like
Almost.
it's
I don't know.
something about it.
I'm almost sorry.
Hmm.
So,
You are almost sorry.
what are we doing today? Why are you here?
It's a very good
Well, that
question.
sounds harsh, Sebastian.
Apart from the fact that you're a wonderful person, we're happy to have you here, but you're here for a very specific reason.
Yeah, so what we're going to be doing is talking about spoonerisms and why people switch around the first letters of their name and surname and the mechanics. No, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to be talking about Mutterial U and Mutterial Design 3 and how that impacts Android developers, I'd like to think. At least that's how I think I'm here.
I mean, hopefully,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
otherwise we have kind of fucked up the episode already.
Yeah. As long as I remember, that was the idea. Well, I mean, even if it's not that anymore, we can still
But
roll
yeah,
with it. If
I
you
mean,
don't mind.
we are pretty much improvising all we do, so we're happy to roll with whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna roll with it.
Yes.
But I mean, like, yeah, so I know you folks have done a couple of episodes involving Material 3 before, and those have all been great. And yeah, it's changing pretty quickly because it launched at ADS as a first alpha, and obviously that means that the library is in its initial stages, and there's been some updates since then, so we can go through some of that stuff and take a look at the tools and the design resources and all those sorts of cool things.
Yeah, and then you're gonna maybe be able to tell us what we did wrong when we implemented Material 3 in our app, if anything. Otherwise, I'm gonna take it as we somehow did it right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's completely perfect, but we can take a look. But
Uh,
anyway, I also realized I forgot to introduce myself formally, so to speak, other than my really strange name of choice of Twitter handle and name. But yeah, I'm Nick, and I work as a developer relations engineer for Android at Google.
And I wanted to add to what you've said already about what we're going to do is today, if you folks have questions about Material 3 and Material U, this is a great opportunity to ask and get the official answer or the unofficial answer, depending on the question, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I'll do my best to answer as officially as possible. Basically, any questions you might have, let me know. Can't promise that'll be perfect, but I'll do my best.
I'm sure Ivan has some questions as well. Last
Yeah.
time he
I
did,
mean,
so
Yes. And actually, I want also to know about the current status of the whole Material U situation, because after the first attempt to it, or the first sneak peek that we had, I personally parked it a bit because there was that missing part of not everything is supported yet, so you have to have like a double team. So yeah, I want to understand where are we on the general support.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, actually.
I can.
even
But
just
I don't want to spoil the timeline, if we the roadmap, the episode roadmap, because I know Sebastiano had a very strict timeline in mind.
I'm not strict about anything, and you know that. Speaking of
jokes aside,
speaking
yes.
of being strict, there is one thing that I will be strict about, which is we need to have a minimum amount of times where we see Spike instead of you. I'm sorry, Ivan, but maybe you want to introduce the news.
So, So we have one huge subscriber on the show. As many of you know, you can support the show in a variety of ways. If you have Amazon Prime, you can connect it to your Twitch account and you can subscribe for free. And it's free for you, but we get like $1 or something. So we started with that, and then we expanded. Now we have a coffee page where you can subscribe on like a one-shot donation, or you can subscribe on a monthly base. We have like a few tiers from like $1 to like $50, and our huge supporter Mark, at the moment he's donating, I don't know, as much as we ask. I don't understand how it works.
Are you
So I
suggesting
decided
we should raise the tier or something?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to. No, the problem is that I'm pretty sure that if we ask more money, he's gonna give us more money, and then
Yeah,
I'm
that
gonna
would be
feel
unfair.
guilty about it. Yeah, that wouldn't be. I mean, I will definitely be closer to my Tesla to buy my new Tesla, but that will be just Mark's Tesla, and I have the key card, so it doesn't work like that.
But we're spending all the money on stickers. I don't think it works like that.
Yeah, we are spending. So we are spending all the money on stickers, and so the pizza stickers that you can win with the giveaway that we are running later during the show. If you win the giveaway, you will get the stickers, the angry pizza sticker. You also will get other stickers like, the JetBrains stickers. We have Kotlin stickers. We have this person that works at JetBrains that sends us stickers.
I don't know
I don't
who
know
they
if
are.
you know the guy. Yeah, but if you are a subscriber in any form, you will also get the holo sticker, that it's super kitsch, but it's very unique because you cannot buy them. So you can only win them if you are a subscriber. And as I was saying, to actually
It goes right
say
here.
yes,
Just
to
on your
say
laptop.
thank you to Mark, that is always following us since the beginning, joining for episodes, and also supporting us. Last week I decided that I need to give him back in a very very particular way. So from now on, we have the Spike Camp. So we have one specific webcam that I bought, and I also had to set up the whole OBS thing where you can see Spike. Basically, it's just a bit of Spike if I feel if I feel that I want to be in the show, or you can have or you can have just Spike.
Is that
or
a
just
Lego cover for your couch as well?
Yes,
That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I mean, it's mostly dog fur and with a slightly Lego texture, but you get the idea. So there is now from now on we will have the spy cam every now and then. I'm just gonna switch to. I mean, it would be nice if we will turn and it would not be just my dog, but on camera, live on stream with Sebastiano and our guests. But I mean, it's still a work in progress. Anyway, thank you, Mark, and thank you to all the supporters that we have, and I love the show. So please, Sebastiano.
One last thing before we go.
All rolling.
Given I've put in the effort to set that all up, starting this week, last week, I don't know, at some point recently, I've enabled memberships on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, first of all, hi. Second of all, you can subscribe with the button, which is going to be like up there, I guess, or well, down, well, somewhere. It's on the screen. It says join. And you can use that to subscribe to our channel. The tiers are the same that you get on Coffee. We get slightly less money because YouTube takes a cut. but it's more convenient for you. So there's that. And help us fund our sticker addiction. With
Yeah,
that,
well-
Also, Spike is getting a lot of love in the Twitch chat, is all I'm going to say. Like,
yeah, that's
he's
the
being
thing.
elected as emperor, mascot of
Yeah,
with the Italians. Apparently, he's trying to look like Seb by showing his butt. So I don't know. He's doing a lot of.
well,
Hello, everybody, and thank you for the appreciation. Anyway,
shall we
so
get started with the content?
yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Nick, right now people are not seeing the screen, but I have the browser ready. So anytime you want me to show the screen, just say so and I'll do that. In the meantime, off you go. What is
Yes,
Material
cool,
3?
cool. What is Material 3? That's a very good question. I mean, I guess you can show the screen now because like it's the home page and all of that, so it's probably a
Fair
good
enough.
backdrop. But yeah, I mean, I think in previous episodes it's come up, but it's effectively like a new version of Material Design. Believe it or not, the previous version where like we had material theming, the whole host of components that you saw on the sort of the older Material website was considered Material Design 2. And then if you go really far back into like the Lollipop days, that was kind of considered Material Design 1. And although that wasn't like, I don't know, super public for a while now, it's all been exposed. Material 3 is the internal Google version. Now the public knows about it as well. But really, it's like a new version of the spec, and the spec being everything that includes like the components that you use in your app, buttons, dialogues, cards, navigation drawers, etc. And then the theming and theming subsystems. So like, how do I theme these components and the rest of my app? How do I apply things like shape and color and typography to them? So it's like kind of like a whole new take on that. Plus, it's all centered around the idea of like Android 12 personalization, and extracting colors from your wallpaper to theme your OS, your widgets, and your apps as well. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. And I think the question that follows from this is like, okay, we know what Material 3 is now, but then like, what the heck is Material U? I don't know if anyone's ever posed that question and how those two are related. But the way I like to see it weirdly is like, how do we define what is Jetpack and Android X? I don't know. That's been a discussion in the Android community for kind of a while.
So we are discussing that for the rest of the stream, right? Because that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, I've derailed us entirely, and now that's the whole content of the show. But no, so that's a question that seems to come up a lot. Like, what is Material U? When do we call it Material 3? What's the difference? Are they the same? So I'd like to maybe try and demystify that now ahead of time, because I think that might be on people's minds. But the way I see it, and I believe the official answer to this is like Material 3 is the entire spec, like the components and all their like measurements and font weights and colors and stuff, as well as the theming and like everything that you will see on m3.material.io. And then Material U is the part of it that is that dynamic color, personalization features, and definitely like more of a branding name than an official spec name, so that, I don't know, Android can use that to sort of brand Android 12 and above as having Material U personalization. So a little bit confusing, but it is what it is.
So, like at the first glance, the main different one would see between Material theming or Material 2 and Material 3 or Material U. I don't know where the like how the levels align there, but like the big difference that one can see and is especially visible in Android 12 on Pixel devices is that everything is much more organic feeling, right? More pastelly, whereas Material Design 2 was closer to the original design, the original Material Design, where everything was very geometric and minimalistic.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the Material 2 and sort of the material theming era was a bit of an evolution, and like taking that first material design look and making it a little more customizable, because there was the feedback saying that, everything kind of looks the same on my phone now. It's great that I can build an app quickly with material and it looks pretty good, but then like, why does Gmail look the same as my third-party email client and basically the same as Twitter as well? And like, that's where the material theming and material 2 came about to expand on that and make things more differentiated, and you can like influence it with brand. But material 3, yeah, is quite a big departure. Like, it's from almost a foundational level, it's using less of the things that you saw in material design, historically speaking. So quite a lot less shadows, a lot more use of like varied color. Definitely, as you say, more organic in terms of like using quite expressive shape. So rounded corners almost everywhere, but also like shapes that are quite, yeah, a little bit wild at times, actually. Like, you'll see almost like flower-like shapes or triangles and other forms of polygons that are like very rounded and quite creative and expressive, I guess. And then, yeah, definitely big use of like large fonts and expressive typography that's occupy the user's phone and like make use of the bigger phone screens and even large screen devices that we have, so that it's like quite bold and expressive and almost like radically new in a way, to try and break away from perhaps old material design, but also like differentiate Google's design system as something unique.
And I would say another big departure from the previous idea with material theming was that now material U is a thing. So like, you are supposed to make your phone yours. So in a sense, you have more control over how the applications look, but at the same time, applications have way less control over how they will look on a user's device, right?
Yeah, so I mean, that is the idea, is that like you pick your wallpaper, and from there it sort of like ripples out to your whole operating system, your widgets and apps that have opted into this. So like personalizing and feeling that like you've picked the look and feel that you want for your phone, and then going in, picking like some of the colors for the color palette and letting that sort of like filter in through to your apps so that it feels like more yours, I guess. And that is one of the things that like we're encouraging folks to try and adopt in their apps if it makes sense. Otherwise, to like use the new spec and still support branding and like branded looks and feels that you can get in apps, so that that doesn't so that companies can still handle that as well.
And I guess this is a bit of a loaded question. Well, not a loaded, but like a heavy question to be like this early in the stream. But how do you see the balance? How would you recommend that people tilt the balance towards the dynamic coloring versus the branding? Like, are there any criteria that the design team has come up with?
Yeah, it is like a question that I think is ultimately kind of opinionated. Like, we have some guidance on it, but I'll also give you my opinion as what I think about this, because dynamic color ultimately is quite a big choice for a design team, and especially for an app. In particular, if you're coming from a point of view where like your app is heavily branded in terms of your brand colors, in terms of your brand fonts. And then now all of a sudden, in particular for color and dynamic colors, now introduce wallpaper colors that are variable and can change at any time. It's a fine balance. Personally, the way I like to see it is that, well, first of all, I think most Google apps are going to adopt it. But the one thing that perhaps is interesting about most Google apps before this Material U and Material 3 brand was that a lot of them were using a neutral palette. Like, pretty much all the Google apps were like a white color. They didn't use too heavy use of color in the actual background of the app, in in surfaces and backgrounds, and even like in app bars, it was pretty much all white branding, and then you'd occasionally see like a Google plus sign in the Google colors, but very, very minimal. So for those apps, I really think it was like almost a little easier to adopt dynamic color because they were almost unopinionated about what colors they used in it already. So to go from like a white color or like a dark gray and dark theme, and now suddenly infuse that with a bit of dynamic color makes, I think, a bit of sense. And those are the cases where I actually think, even for third-party apps, it makes probably the most sense. Something like I look at the Twitter Android app, which has opted more for like a let the content of that people are posting shine through, like photos and so on and so forth. Like, and the actual background is quite neutral. It's mostly black and white with splashes of blue here and there. That's where I think those sorts of apps could probably adopt this most easily, because I think like it doesn't clash too much with the branding system. However, if you do want to still include brand and make it feel like your users are in your app and your brand color is important to that experience, I would, and maybe it's a bit of a hot take, I'd probably not use dynamic color, to be honest, and rather go for your brand colors, but like adopt them a bit for the Material U look and feel. And how to do that, I can get into that if you would like at some stage as well. There's a
absolutely, because we'll have to do that. So thank you.
yeah. But that's my honest take on it. Like, use dynamic color if the actual branded color in your app is not a super important thing. If it's more about content and like you had a neutral palette to begin with. And again, the Google apps are a pretty good example of this. If you look at them pre-Material 3.
So go for it, Ivan. I've been asking questions so far.
Yeah, because I'm actually well, listening. I mean, as a starter. So the question that it's more like to give you the status of my experience with this, and eventually after the first iteration that we did here, I came to the same conclusion. Like if in your app the use case or the problem that you're solving is more important than you obsessing on the design, dynamic coloring, it could be just enough or even more than enough, because we had the color episode a couple of months ago, about the series that we are doing on design. And one of the thing that I remember that our guest was saying, at some point we solved the issue of picking right colors for you, so you just can go with it, and it's easier for you if you don't have like a specific branding or like a design team. And I build a lot of utility apps as pet projects, so I don't have a designer. I cannot design. I mean, I can design very, very horrible apps, so I prefer to say that I cannot design, but the dynamic coloring, it will be probably useful for me, so I don't have to stress over things like picking the right contrast for accessibility or things like that. But the blocker at the moment was the whole, we are in between because the library is not there yet. But I'm very looking forward to give it a real shot, because I have a couple of apps where I picked colors, but it's more like, okay, well, they look nice, it's not that no, it has to be red or whatever, it has to be magenta. No, I will probably be a bit even more interesting if we'll pick the color from the background, because why not?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Like in the case where you're a solo developer, or you don't have a designer, or you don't actually have too much of an opinion what the color is of your app, like then I think it's actually a very strong use case as well, because it's probably better than using the baseline material purple, for example, because you see quite a lot of those apps around, and while we all like purple, I guess, I don't know.
But as a designer, as a developer, you know that that's the default one, right?
The purple of shame.
The moment I see the purple, I know like they didn't have time or energy to actually come up with a different color palette, and that's fair because I know, when you work on your pet project, it's like probably 1 hour every Sunday that you can actually put into it. So priorities are a very serious thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly, and like, I think like if you can just, it is actually pretty easy to integrate dynamic color. I mean, it is only available on Android 12, unfortunately, but like it's less code to do that in your app currently than it is to, override XML theming values or override compose like Kotlin values. So it's easy, and I guess in that solo developer pet project or even just like small side project, that it probably makes a whole lot of sense actually.
You mentioned that there are ways to use Material U and dynamic theming in the Vue system and also in Compose. Maybe we can talk about that. We did cover it in our previous episodes, but I think we have a lot of new people that might not have seen those. So, and then we have a question on that topic from the chat as well. So let's circle back to that at the end.
Cool. Yeah, so in addition to like the spec that you see on the website now, there is implementations of that for both the Android views and Compose. So like there's only really 2 official libraries, and the first is for views would be the Material Components for Android, aka MDC Android, which has a 1.5.0 release. And in fact, that just went stable last week, I believe. So that includes all of the.
We have to talk about this. I thought there was an agreement that all the new stuff would be launched on our streams at this point. That would have been the 3rd in a row. Just by pure coincidence.
Somebody probably lost the memo. They missed the memo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this library, like it primarily lives on GitHub, but there's some getting started steps here. So if there's a link to the GitHub repo, it might even be more up to date. But that's for the Vue system. And then for Compose, we can also get to it, but there's actually a new artifact. So something to perhaps point out here is that while there are libraries available for Views and Compose, they took 2 different strategies with regards to like how these were published. So for the Views library for Material Components for Android, it was an update to the existing dependency. So the 1.5.0 update includes, in addition to all the existing stuff that you had from Material 2, like themes, views as components, etc. Like they then added on Material 3 themes and Material 3 components. But with Compose, instead, what they decided to do was to publish a separate androidx.compose.material3 artifact. And there's pros and cons to both, I believe. Perhaps, especially when it comes to the migration side of things or adoption in your app. But that is the reality of it, and perhaps go into some of the history as to why that was chosen. But nevertheless, there's a separate artifact for Compose, and it's a little less mature right now in terms of its coverage of components and stuff. Like it's only on an alpha 3 and an alpha 3 as opposed to like being close to stable. So that's the high overview of where those 2 things stand right now. I see you're on the page now for Compose Material 3, which is cool. This kind of gives you an overview of all the components and bits of theming that you would want to know. There's sort of this handy table at the top, which someone on the Android developer relations team, could be me, who knows, added.
I don't know, but whoever they were, thank you, mysterious person.
Yeah. Kudos.
like a secret benefactor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just looking
Anonymous.
for stuff for my performance review, really.
That works. I can imagine this page has a lot
Yeah,
of traffic.
yeah. Yeah, so those two libraries.
You can even link the stream where you say, we had 20 people on stream live appreciating this. So you can use Coding with Italian for career. It's a career with Italians.
I think I'll take the Italian points stats. Currently at 60, but who knows where it'll be at the end of the stream.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, that's like a high level overview of like what's currently available. There's a views library, there's a compose library, and in those should be a relatively one-to-one mapping of like what you see on m3.material.io. That's going to change, I guess, as time goes on, because that spec is going to change and it's going to filter through as like updates to the libraries and the various views / composables in them and everything else. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let's go back. I'm gonna scroll back a bit in the chat and try to find the question that we had earlier, which is: Are we supposed to be using the surface composable in replacement of card in Material 3, or I guess the implied part is card going to be added at some point?
Yeah, that is a good question. I'm going to just quickly confirm something because I don't think cards are available currently. No, they're not. Yeah, that's right. So the answer to that question would probably be yes for now, but it is on its way, because you may notice that it is listed as one of the components on like the design website. So if you see that, that's usually a good indication that it's coming to the library like soon. I guess what happened was like at the launch of this library at Android Dev Summits, there you go. There's the cards component. It was like there was some choice that needs to be made with regards to like of the components that are listed in the M3 spec, like how many can we launch by ADS, and then like picking high priority ones. But yeah, card is definitely on the list. Expect to see it in an alpha update very soon. But for now, there is a M3 surface, which card is effectively just like a small wrapper around. So I definitely would consider using that, because it includes all the things like if you want to cast a shadow, it can cast a shadow. If you want to do this like new tonal elevation, which like colors the surface depending on the elevation, you can do that as well. It's kind of like the replacement for now, I'd say.
And I guess you can also always go to the implementation tab on the Material 3 website, which does say it's in progress. So at some point,
it is.
At some point, you'll get it, because there was Coding Pizza asking in the chat, saying that he's a big fan of your work from the days at Over.
Yeah, well, those days are now over, but I'm also I think they also changed names to something else different. So I don't even know if I'm allowed to be making those puns anymore.
Oh,
but
that's disappointing.
I think I still will. I even saw a certain Over employee in the chats who's busy drum rolling. But anyway, yeah. But you bring up a good point here, though. Like a good way to figure out, is a component available and is it on its way, so to speak, is I would first actually start with this website you're on now, this m3.material.io, because if it isn't in the design spec, there's a very little chance that it's going to actually be in the library. And then if it is currently in the design spec, which I should add is evolving and changing, and more components are going to be added from Material 2 to it very soon, then go to its page, and then you'll see that there's these like an implementation tab, and on there you can check Android, and it does tell you whether it's available in Compose or available in Views or both. What you'll notice, however, though, is that like there's a bit of documentation here about the Views versions, but for Compose it delegates to the pages on developer.android.com. So that's what you can probably expect to see.
Yeah.
Cool.
There was a follow-up question which was about the ability to use dynamic colors on splash screens, and I was typing this, but I might as well say it out loud, which is that we just had Vadim, who is the author of the splash screen library, on the last stream, and we did talk with him about dynamic colors. We're not using them in our implementation yet, for a reason that maybe we'll get to talk about with Nick as well. But the idea is that you can use dynamic colors. You just need to use the attributes. Obviously, that means that you need to use the attributes on Android 12 and higher. So you'll have a fallback base value in your base values directory. In your base value resources directory. Otherwise, you can't. I'm saying values too many times. And then you will have an override for Android 12 and higher, where you can use the attribute.
Okay.
Am I correct?
I'd like to take a look at that.
Am I correct in saying that given the splash screen library uses the old view system, you can use like the primary color attribute or secondary color attribute, something like that, right?
You should be able to, as far as I wouldn't mind actually taking a look at that in how it's implemented in Bundle to like just be sure. But the way I understand it though is that like you can use the view system, like because it is using the view system, you can use one of the Mutterial 3 themes, the XML themes that come with that latest 1.5 updates in MDC Android, I think. And then you can reference those attributes that are in those Mutterial 3 themes. It'll just mean that like if you haven't overridden them, you're going to get the baseline colors if you reference those attributes. And if you're not on Android 12 and haven't like enabled dynamic color, well, that'll be the new case where referencing those attributes would give you like a dynamic color. So let's actually take a look at this.
So Vadim was saying that you can do it. The only thing that you need to be aware of is that you need to have to use the theme.splashscreen theme for your activity as a parent. And that in turn extends base.theme.splashscreen.daynight, which again, I guess this is coming from still core splash screen. So I guess we can just follow this through and see where it goes. Yeah, it goes to device default, which I guess on Android 12 should set the values correctly, the attributes, or does it?
I don't think so. Like, I think it would have to inherit from a Mutterial 3 theme from MDC because kind of how it works, it's kind of interesting, to be honest. Like, the themes in the Mutterial 3 views library have, or that's where like these attributes are declared and come from, that Mutterial 3 library, the color primary, color, some of the newer ones like color tertiary and stuff like that. It's declared there, but then how dynamic color works in a sort of nutshell is that like it uses a feature of Android 12, which I forget the official name, but it's like something along the lines of like dynamic resource loading, where it like overrides resource values at runtime with something. And these, oh dear.
Resource overlay?
I turned off, it turned off my light by mistake. It like kind of dynamically applies a resource overlay so that it can fetch system colors that are spat out from the Android system that they get from the wallpaper, and then link them to those attributes at runtime. So it was never really possible in other versions of Android, and that's kind of the reason why it's difficult to do dynamic color, or impossible to do dynamic color almost below Android 12, because it's such a like fundamental part of things. But also it's tied to the OS because the OS is fetching those colors and providing them as color resources. Anyway,
let's try. No, it doesn't pick it up. It doesn't pick up color primary. So Vadim was lying.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it would.
Do you need like at color, or you just it's enough
I mean,
to
it's
use
the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it would be the same. In this case, like, I guess I probably need to be a little more familiar with the splash screen attributes that you can change. What are some of the splash screen attributes that you can change?
Well, I mean, there is also that we are not using the latest version of the splash screen library, Sebastian. If you
Yes,
remember.
we are. Have faith
you
in me.
updated it.
Have faith in me. Yes,
well, I
of
mean,
course I
don't know.
have.
I mean,
We
Yeah,
spent
fair
half the
enough.
episode saying it's gonna go in beta, and then I would have felt guilty if I hadn't updated it.
Silly me.
So there is a splash screen icon size, which probably don't need. There is a Windows splash screen background, which we already have, which is the one we're touching. There's a post splash screen theme, which is just to say, oh yeah, you use this theme as the real theme once you're done.
Yeah.
And then you can set the animated icon, which we already have, even though it's not animated. You can also set the animation duration and the icon background color. I think that's pretty much it. Because it's,
what is that post splash screen theme? Is that like the theme your app should take?
Yeah.
Following the splash screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then I'm a little. I don't think it would be possible in this case, just because like you're not using a Material 3 theme yet. So referencing those attributes is probably not going to fetch the correct thing. What you could try and do is that like, we may actually have to go dig around in the MDC Android source code to do this, but there's like, what MDC Android does is it goes and fetches these like system color resources that exist on Android 12. So it's like something like, they have like these names and have like a tonal value. It's like color, like accent tonal 700 or something along those lines. And I don't know exactly what they're called, but if you had a look in the MDC Android source code on the Material Components GitHub repo, like you could probably see it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And like reference those directly.
Assuming they're not hidden.
No, I don't think they are. So like, because like, you may have noticed that in even before Material U had launched and Material 3 and like all of that, there were a few apps coming out that were like enabling dynamic color before we'd even like fully launched these libraries, and people were going like, wow, how are they doing this? But it's kind of because in the beta versions of Android 12, like these color resources were already being exposed by the Android OS. Anyway, so if we go into the library, the lib module, and go into the top directory, and I think there should be a
theme, maybe?
Potentially. Let's take a look at that.
Overlay?
Maybe. No, I don't think so. I'm going to actually take a look.
Sure.
I'm going to take a look in the background and have a look at this.
Yeah,
but
I'll answer a question from the chat in the meantime that is not related to what we're doing. So while you look that up. So I am sorry, I'm not going to try to read your nick. It's way too long, I'm afraid. But same person that was asking about the Surface and the splash screen. They are asking why we're not putting shortened versions of our streams on YouTube. You're not the first person asking that. We have also thought about that. The only problem with that is that it takes a lot of time to edit an hour and a half or 2 hours stream into 15, 20, 30 minutes video. And it's very time consuming. And at this point in time, neither Ivan nor I have that time on our hands to take care of that, unfortunately. We would love to be able to outsource this to someone, which is a good idea. Like we could try and find someone on Fiverr or something. But the problem is that you need someone that understands what we're talking about to be able to get the highlights from what we're talking about. Because if you just hire someone that knows how to do editing and they don't know about coding, they will not know which parts are relevant. And then you kind of circle back to the point where we need to tell them what are the relevant parts. And at that point, you might as well be editing the video yourself. So we're back to square one. That's the reason why we haven't done it yet. We would be happy to be able to do that. At some point, we'll hopefully do it. But yeah, it's not as easy as it could be for maybe someone that does, gaming streams where they just, just vaguely say, "I just take this bit or that bit," which is way more, say, consumable from a editor's point of view than someone staring at code for 15 minutes is like, what is the salient part about that?
Yeah, I mean, there is also the fact that most of our streams are built around some sort of discussion or like a conversation. So it's not just, like a live coding kind of exercise where at some point you can speed up or you can cut probably and short circuit some areas. You will probably lose also the Goliardic, the messing around, the jokes and the swearing. Yeah, there are that like from a time perspective, like slow moments, but that's because we are not preparing anything upfront. So this is how we go as it comes, let's say. And so yeah, and it's Sebastiano said this project started in a way like, okay, so it's gonna be low effort. We are not editing stuff. We are taking responsibility of shit we say live, and there is not gonna be any, swearing, cutting, or that kind of stuff, and no editing. So it's gonna be easier for us to keep putting out content, because the worst that can happen is that the editing part is gonna eat us our motivations and energy, and at that point you are so fed up that um, you don't do it anymore because you don't want to edit it anymore. So we don't want to do that. And so for now, please, if it's too long for you, try to
Skip ahead.
watch
It's fine.
well, try. But jokes aside, you can skim through the episode. You can watch it like twice the speed, or I don't know, like try to enjoy the content as it is, because yeah, this is the format that we decided to bring, because it's easier for us to keep putting out content. So thank you for the message, because I love the I love the love that you are giving us, and I hope you can enjoy the format as it is. Thank you for being on live. So that's actually very important for us.
Okay. In the background, I've been furiously basically GitHubbing. I think I found sort of what I'm looking for. So if you go to the lib directory,
Yep.
let me actually make sure I'm in the right place here. Go to the color directory, and then go to resources, the res folder, go values v31, and then to tokens. This is where things get a little interesting. There's a whole lot of underscores and whatever's out here, but you scroll down to where it says baseline palette neutrals.
So palette.
Where it starts saying Android color system. Yeah, around about here.
Yeah.
So
maybe up here, neutral. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So what this is kind of doing is that it's like this is where things begin in terms of interacting with the Android system and these dynamic resources they have. These things like at Android color / system neutral 1000. And this library effectively tries to then look at all these colors that like the Android system is spitting out, which it's getting from the wallpaper, and attempt to map them to all the way up to like the color primary that you have in your app's theme when you're using Material 3. So you won't have access to color primary if you're using the splash screen theme, but I'm wanting to see if we can like retrofit one of these system resources and then use them as like the color.
So if I recall correctly, the story, like I think Chris Cinco explained the tokens stuff to us in the colors episode. But just as a recap, the tokens are like named colors essentially that you can then use, but they're not like the primary or something. It's like you have a number of colors and you have a number of variations of those colors, and you can use those variations for different things. Like you can use one for primary, you can use one for, I don't know, background. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Almost like, actually, I wouldn't actually improve on that too much. Like that's kind of how I would describe it as well.
So it was something along these lines. I think there was like with the Figma plugin, maybe made it a bit clearer. What was the website to generate the colors?
The tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good one to get into. That was the Material Theme Builder. In fact, like when I was chatting, or I was mentioning it earlier, that like if you were to not use dynamic color in your app, but you kind of want your app to still look like Material U, like i.e. Material UFI your brand colors, this is the tool that I would use. So if you scroll down on this blog post, there's like a link to a web tool. Material themes on the web, and then this is where you can visualize how dynamic color might look in an app, but there's also a tab at the top for custom. And this is, I think, the most interesting part of it for me, at least, because it's pretty much the only tool that I'm aware of right now that allows you to take like your, like, say you have some existing brand colors or have some stuff from your Material 2 app and you want to like convert it almost into a Material U type look and feel, like this is the tool to use.
So you can pick a color with this beautiful 90s color picker. Thank you, Windows, for always being Windows.
Yeah, who knows how it looks on Mac and even Linux. But yeah, this is an interesting one. Like, I mean, we could go through this if you like, because this was like quite an integral part of some of the updates that we did for the sample apps for Material U. In particular, the one sample app that I was involved in for ADS was JetChat. And I work quite closely with the designer on picking the colors while using this tool, and in fact, the Figma plugin version of this tool. So it's pretty interesting. Unless you want to circle back to that splash screen thing, but if I'm honest, we're getting into the weeds there of like.
I mean, we can cover this and then we can try on the fly to see if we can reuse that token and see if that works. But I think this is more generally applicable, maybe.
Yeah. So so this is quite a cool one because, like, as I was saying, if you're coming to Material U, and especially if you're coming to it with a brand or like you have an existing Material 2 app, but you want to like adapt those colors so that they, well, A, work with the new theme, so you know what to put in what attribute, but B, sort of like feels at home next to other Material 3 apps, then yeah, this is the tool. So what I'd actually maybe like to do is like, do you have a brand palette from a Material 2 app handy? Like, what did you use for bundle before you Material 3'd it? So
we still have it because we still need to keep Material 2 around for some of the stuff we use that isn't in Material 3 yet. So I think it's in theme.kt. No, I have moved it out. I'm not that bad. Okay. So this is material 3 and this is the material 2. There you go.
Yeah. Cool. I see you've named these resources really well and that you're not naming them like primary this, primary that. But do you know like what, when it was material 2?
Yeah.
What? Here you go. Cool. I guess it would actually be. Okay.
So we have a question in the chat. Coding Pizza is asking if we can have material 2 and material 3 in the same project.
That is the question, if there ever was one, I suppose. In fact, I remember seeing on Twitter ahead of time that Hugo was mentioning this. He put up a gist to help out with this as well. So I guess a shout out to that. But the honest truth of it is that we don't have a very clear story for it. And I'll rather just be blunt about that than try and say, yeah, you should, and we'll let you know in future. That at this point in time, because there exists a material 2 spec and there exists a material 3 spec, and furthermore, that like the same components, there isn't a one-to-one mapping of like, there's a button in material 2, there's a button in material 3, there's a this and like for most components that is the case, but there's some components where there just isn't. And so what that kind of leads to is that like, okay, I want to use material 3 in my app, but I noticed that the component that I was using tends to be slightly more outlying, less like main components, but it just doesn't exist in material 3. So what do I do? And usually what that means is having to use both of them in your app. That can be tricky from quite a few angles. Like it can be tricky from a design point of view as well. Like how do you, like what color are those components going to be? How do they look alongside like material 3 looking components? And that's a fairly complex question. The other question is like, from a technical point of view, a material 2 component, both in the views world and in Compose, like expects a material 2 theme to be wrapping your either like your composable app or your I think my chair might have just given up on me. But material 2 app like needs to be wrapped in a theme that's a material 2 theme. And then similarly, a material 3 component expects your app to be wrapped in a material 3 theme. So if you haven't done that, like things might crash. So it kind of means almost like maintaining 2 versions of your brand's theme and then using components in your app. And like, it is a little messy, to be 100% honest with you. And some of the approaches that we've taken, at least that I've taken in like the sample apps like JetChat and the Material Catalog Compose app, which I also maintain, is to wrap my app in both versions of the Material 2 and Material 3 theme so that at least theming values are supplied to all possible components you would use. And then use Material 3 components, cool, they should just kind of look how you want them to. But in the instance where you're using a Material 2 component, try your best to like wrap it and supply it with Material 3 colors from the Material 3 theme. And what that sometimes means is like either creating a custom style for it if you are doing so in the views world, or in Compose, like just creating like a wrapping composable around this missing component and then like fetching colors from your Material 3 theme and piping those through. Bit of a complex one. If you feel like you have to use Material 3 now, then I guess that is the approach you may want to take. Another approach to consider is perhaps like migrating some screens, like one at a time, like so that you know that like those screens that use the components that actually are available can be Material 3 for now. Alternatively, wait, and more components will be added.
I mean, this is probably for the lazy / old people like me. It's probably the more suitable option. Do we have a timeline for this? I mean, it's like gonna be 6 months of hybrid 2+3 teams, or even hang in there a couple of weeks and we are done?
Well, I wouldn't say a couple of weeks.
You can not answer the question. So you
Yeah, that's this thing where I'm starting to think like, what does my employer think I need to say? No,
yeah.
no,
So
like,
what's the HR?
no.
How was so what was it, the
We
HR seminar, the workshop that we did? Like, how
Yeah.
was it? Don't say anything live on Twitch. How was it? Can't remember. Anyway, so
Yeah.
Ivan, yeah, sure.
Spinning through like legal documents. No, I'm joking. No, like
Yasmin is here. Be careful what you
Oh
say.
dear. Oh goodness.
Well,
Communicate with care. Yeah, that's accurate. So like I would say like it's all I can say is like it's actively really being worked on, and it's very much known as like a thing. Like this is probably the blocker for adoption, because if you can't, let's say, just switch out your app's theme for a Material 3.1 from Material 2 and have the components available to you that you're already using, it's immediately kind of like a bit of a hard sell. So it's very much known that that is the case. However, it's just like basically a case of there's a lot more thought, I think, that's going into updating components for Material 3 than just like doing a straight conversion and just like mapping the colors. Like there's a lot of updates that you'll notice that things like the shape and the like roundedness of the corners has changed. The like what typography a button uses, how big it is. Like there's a lot of like thought going into each of these that is like almost making them like bespoke updates like per component. So it does take time to update them and then provide this as public design spec guidance, let alone like internal guidance to Google first, so we can like test it out and see if it works. And then once it's actually delivered as guidance, like provide a library implementation for folks to use. So it takes time, but it's actually being worked on. And I'm going to say like, just keep watching the releases page, because yeah, especially for Compose, like and for Views, like those releases are coming out quite frequently as new components get added, new tokens for them exist, and so on and so forth. So hashtag soon.
Yeah, if you want to live on the bleeding edge, there's the approach we have followed, which is also the approach from the gist that someone put, that Fabio and Ivan put on our chat from Hugo, is that essentially what you need to make it work for now is to take your Material 2 theme and your Material 3 theme, throw them in, and hope for the best. Because luckily enough, they're using different composition locals. So
Exactly.
you can have them both at the same time. But then again, as Nick was saying, be careful with mixing components, because some of them might look very out of place in a material, like some Material 2 components might look very different from the Material 3 specs, and they might look very weird. One thing you could do, like for some of them, like cards, what you can do is you can say, oh, I have a Material 2 card, but I have the spec for a Material 3 card, so I can manually adjust the colors that I assign to a card. You can have like a composable that wraps a card composable and pretends to be a Material 3 card. But probably the easiest way to do it is to just wait for that to be done.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's tricky because like the official response is wait, because like if you do wait, it's going to be like the most correct implementation, so to speak. But folks do want to migrate now.
It's nice.
And they want to start.
And it's new. Two best things.
It's new. You do want to get ahead of it as well. Like you almost want to prepare so that when it's fully ready, like you can almost like flip the switch on that. And on that note, like I think one of the approaches that I've sort of thought about and perhaps could be an option for some folks is like to perhaps have like a separate testing area of your app that perhaps you can only access as like internal users, or if you're only using like an alpha version of the app where like you start testing out some of this and like using your app's components and screens and like having a testing area so that like you can develop alongside and still keep it in your code base and still keep it up to date, so to speak, but not necessarily expose it to the users just yet if it's not fully complete. But on the note of like, if you do want to like use an M2 component but adapt it for Material 3, I'm pretty sure, like it was a little while ago, but I'm pretty sure I had to do this for the Compose catalog app. So I'm gonna take a look at that because I don't even remember what I did, but I'm pretty sure I did something along these lines. Let's see if I can send you a link so that you can show this on the
Sure,
screen. But
absolutely. Just put it in the chat on Twitch.
yeah,
I also have a question. As soon as we have time, please.
Yeah,
I think go ahead with the question while I'm busy.
it's from Yaz, so
taking a
heads
look.
up.
No. It's that's not from the chat. I mean, so
Okay.
it's from Ivan. So you say that you are putting a lot of effort, design, mindfulness into creating the components for Material 3. They are not just like a copy / update or the existing Material 2 ones. And things are going to be slightly different. You mentioned shapes and rounded corners and things like that. Would you expect something after the migration that the design team will actually call me out? Even what the fuck happened here? I mean, we decided that rounded corner is like 20 dp. What
20.
changed?
God.
I mean, I'm just throwing in numbers there. I mean, but no, jokes aside, I mean, working for like a customer that at some point they validated the design, this is it. And then at some point the library comes in, I want to be fancy, let's update to Material 3. And tiny things, will they change in a like perceivable way from a user / designer / paying customer point of view?
Are you asking whether like people would notice it and people would like have an issue with it if you just updated it without asking, or like I'm not.
Are you trying to get away with something even here?
Sneaks
but
in Material 3.
I'm serious. Let's say that from a maintenance point of view or life cycle of an app, it's important to be using Material 3 because holistically speaking, the system is going to use Material 3 and things like that. So at some point, you need to migrate the same way you will migrate to Jetpack Compose, right?
Yeah.
But will it be the same app or will it be slightly different app? I'm generally asking if if it's just gonna be like a drop-in substitution, or it's just gonna be okay, we migrated to Material 3, but now we need to go back and tune the things that changed to actually make them look like the old one.
Yeah, I get that. That's so. In fact, what you raised there about like migrating to Compose is a nice comparison for me. It's similarly like I guess you can go back to like migrating from Java to Kotlin. But like let's take these three cases. Like you have an Android app, you want to migrate it from Java to Kotlin. You have an Android app, you want to migrate it from Views to Compose. And now you have an Android app and you want to migrate it from Material to Material 3. I mean, these things it's kind of all interlinked, but maybe they're somewhat separate as well. In the case of like Java to Kotlin, you pretty much would not really consult with a design team or wouldn't think about it from a design perspective. With Compose, like maybe because it maybe like opens up opportunities of doing things from a design point of view that you didn't have before. Maybe like we can now do this cool animation. Like you go to your design team and say, this is possible. It's like almost like your job to inform them that like you can now do this. But when it comes to like Material 3 conversion, the way I say it is that like it depends on the dynamics of your team, but like this is something that I really think you need to agree with the designer or with the customer. So, and that's where like ideally visiting the spec website and being like, this is what sorts of changes you can expect, and even working on a mock with your designer first, or even doing it on your own if you're happy to do that as like a solo developer, and like visualizing that, using that material theme builder tool, for example, or the Figma plugin, and like coming up with some steps before you just dive straight into the code, like is probably going to be good, because yeah, the truth is the visual changes are quite, well, they vary by component, but ultimately it's quite a big departure. It's like quite a drastic change in terms of design, and for the better, I think, but like it's your app is going to look and feel different. That is the truth. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the answer.
Cool.
I think there's
Yeah.
before we move on, 1 second.
First time I ask something serious, I get so much shit in the chat. I hate you people.
I just want to point out that Spike is dreaming and is very cute.
Yeah.
And second, there's a question from Yaz that was actually a good question. So how do we point out or help the material components team prioritize which components they should be working on?
I should answer that. I just
I mean, I can answer that, but I don't know if it's the right answer.
I don't know who Rick is, but like someone else. I don't know if you see anyone in this chat called Rick, but oh no, yeah, that's a good question. I think like, so effectively what Yaz is asking is like, how would the material design team know, like, cool, we got these components missing from the M3 spec. How should we know which ones we're gonna work on next and add to it? Just harping back to the fact that I was like, a lot of thoughts and time and effort goes into like each component effectively. And the way I see that is like, well, provide feedback via one of the official channels. And it kind of depends which one you are, but like there's feedback options on the material site itself. There is GitHub issues that you can create on the MDC Android website, GitHub page. And alternatively, what you could also do is create a Buganize issue an issue tracker issue using the Compose Material 3 component. So like you could file issues there in both of the libraries saying like, I'm missing this component, I'm busy using it. I think also just reaching out to the team on Twitter, like myself, if you wanted to, or any of the other material folks you might know, so that we can get a sense of what folks are missing and maybe try and collate that into like some kind of a feedback, like collective feedback, whether that's on Twitter or on Slack, or heck, on Twitch even. That all kind of helps. But at the end of the day, I guess what's going to come down to is like, how many pieces of feedback, regardless of where it's coming through, whether that's issue tracker, whether that's on social media, elsewhere, like, are we seeing for this component? Like if it's like pretty high for, let's say, a card, we're like, okay, cool, we better get that. This is probably one that us as like a DevRel team can see is like highly requested, and let the team know. Because like they're relying on us to sort of give a signal as to like what is the public saying.
Good. Yeah, that was a good question. Sorry, Yaz, I didn't mean it as you normally don't ask good question. It was like, it's actually a really good question. So yeah, sorry, you don't deserve that. Just to follow up on that, I want to say, there's so many jokes about Spike in the chat.
And Spike is
nice.
I think he deserves to be in the title of this episode somehow.
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing a spike in Material 3 usage or something.
I think so we need to do the clickbaity stuff on YouTube, and I guess the title is "We Designed with the Dog."
Yeah, you hashtag you won't believe it. Right.
I'm gonna probably regret this, but Mutterial Design.
Oh,
we can put a hashtag Mutterial
promotion.
Sorry, you're fired.
Your promotion. Ciao. It has been a pleasure. HR right away.
I'm already getting Great feedback from Yas in the chat about that joke. I'm
Yeah.
sure she's very proud. Mutterial Design. Oh, that's
That's
way better.
good.
No,
That's
Mark,
good.
I think Mark got it. Yeah, Mark,
Yeah.
that's way better. Yeah, that's what I should have used, truth be told.
Yeah, take
Mm.
notes. I'm gonna take a. I need a big screenshot
Screenshot.
of Spike.
Yeah, I'm seeing I'm not even replying to people, but I'm just posting a few links in the chat to the catalog app I was talking about earlier, which folks, for those who don't know, is like a catalog app that exists as open source. So that was one of the questions, and it's like a way to browse the available features that you can get in at least the Compose version of the Mutterial 3 library, like which components are available and what dynamic color looks like. The app is open source. It is not on Git. Well, I shouldn't say that, strictly speaking it is, but it's technically part of AOSP, like the Android Open Source Project code base. And that gets mirrored to GitHub, by the way. But it lives in AOSP, and then we also publish it to Google Play.
So can you find the code on the Android code search website?
I can.
Is it in Android X or Android?
It is in
Android X.
Android X.
Okay.
Go to platforms, framework support.
Yeah, for those who don't know, cs.android.com is very, very useful when you're looking for the code. So you don't have to clone the AOSP repository, which is fairly large. You can just browse it online. It's very convenient.
Very, very cool. Yeah, it is like for browsing source code, Android source code is pretty great. But I'll send a direct link to the actual catalog itself in the source. So if you want to browse it, feel free. I should add that like this app has two sections to it now, where now you can basically, when you open the app, you fork between like, do I want to look at the catalog for Mutterial Design 2 or the catalog for Mutterial Design 3? And what that means is that there's like a little bit of like Gradle trickery happening. Well, not trickery, it's just like organization really, that like the main module for the app itself is quite small. It's almost like just a shell to show those two catalogs, and then I'll send you a link to like where the main source code lives for like the Mutterial 3 catalog.
So you have both dependencies there.
Yeah.
And then I guess this is the trick is this one, right? To use the two dependencies there.
So exactly, like those are basically just other Gradle modules and directories in AOSP and Android X. So sent a link to that in the chat too if you're interested. But yeah, that's it. So now like the source code of this is a bit more detailed. Like this is where I was mentioning things like using two themes, like using both the old theme and the existing theme. So if we want to go through this, it's a little bit, it's quite interesting, I suppose. Going to be looking at my potentially not so great code, but let's see. So if we scroll down here, we can see like probably the most interesting thing is not necessarily setting up all the colors, and well, actually it is quite interesting, but it's the fact that if we go up, like the main theme at the end of catalog theme, where we actually use the Mutterial theme composable, you'll see that it's actually wraps firstly in the Mutterial 2 Mutterial theme. That's why it's like uses the full namespace there. And then inside that, it uses the Mutterial 3 Mutterial theme. It's just that the APIs happen to use the same name. So
is there a specific reason why you want to wrap the Mutterial 3 inside of the Mutterial 2, or can you do the other way around?
I don't think it makes much difference. I was like, yeah,
because like we've done the same thing, but I think it's just a mere coincidence that we are wrapping the 3 inside the 2.
It should just provide those composition locals the same. So I think it's much of a muchness. And then like I guess you've done the same in bundle, but like a lot of this setup here is effectively all the like Material 3 things, like choosing your color palettes,
Yeah.
dynamic color or not.
This,
so on and so
right.
forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this actually kind of brings me to a point where we also have this sort of thing where somewhere, I don't remember where, but all right, yeah, we have a dynamic color value, which is fine, is what comes from this, but we didn't at least I didn't know there was like a theme.color mode thing you could use. But is this theme here, like what is this theme you're passing in?
Yeah, that's a model, like a model class that I've used as like, because this catalog app allows you to change the theme at runtime to see how it affects components. It's like effectively a model of your current chosen theme. There's like a picking bottom sheet that comes up that you can like say,
right,
yes, I want dynamic color, or configure it how you want, and then apply it, and then it just propagates through that. But yeah, the way to like right now, the way to like choose whether you want dynamic color or not is like just check if you're on Android 12 or not, and then also if you actually want to use it in your app.
I think this code should be more well known and more copy pasted, probably.
Potentially.
It's gonna be in the also in the episode notes. So
absolutely,
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
if YouTube algorithm does
date.
what he knows how to do,
yeah,
it's gonna spread.
Hopefully.
I will say that this is always going to be up to date as well, which is the nice part, is because
It's
it's
in the
living AOSP next to the library. So in fact, while I sometimes update this, the engineers who maintain like the Compose Material 3 and Material 2 libraries update it as well by like, if they add a new component, let's say to the library, then they'll add a sample that gets picked up by this catalog. So
Nice.
it should always be up to date, which is, I say should because I guess, but yeah, it was an interesting exercise because it made me then have to like go in and discover the realities of like using, like I want to use a divider in my in this catalog, but the one didn't exist in Material 3 yet. So it was like, how do I use that, but like wrap it and give it a value from Material 3 so that like in the meantime we can add a to do but still use the component. I'm wondering if we can actually find that.
Well, I mean, there was a divider here. I saw this to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So like in this case, it's a very simple example, but like a divider, because it's such a simple component, like I felt we'd kind of just use it in line. But like for this divider, I'm just providing it with a color which is coming in fact from the Material 3 theme. Like the default for divider is going to come from Material 2 theme. But because color is just a value that lives like, in foundation, I guess, it's just a foundational type. Like you can substitute that color, which will have its default value from Material 2 theme, and give it something from the Material 3 theme. Here you can see it's a Material 3 theme because it's saying like color scheme, and that's very much a Material 3 thing. And there's this new value called outline in the Material 3 theme. So I felt that was appropriate and use that for the divider. When the official divider becomes available on the Material 3 website, I just like go in and replace it. But for now, it's like the best that I could do, and it looked good. So it's kind of the approach in a very simplified sense, like what you might do with other components as well.
Yeah, I guess if you really have to go this approach right now, where you have to have both things in the same place, maybe what I would recommend is to what I was mentioning earlier. You create a composable that wraps the Material 2 component and sets all the right values. And then when the Material 3 version comes out, you change the body of that function. You add the add deprecated annotation to it, and then you Alt-Enter replace everywhere in project with the final result. That would be probably the easiest way to migrate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty, I'd say, like, in terms of using the component now and then easing the migration to the official implementation, I can definitely recommend that as well. Yeah, so like this is the catalog. I mean, it's not too big, but it's like, if folks want to take a look, we can totally do that. We do have a lot of other resources actually, which I haven't yet mentioned in this call. Other sample apps, we launched some documentation. There is, what else have we done? A video. In this sense, I'm talking mostly about like Compose and Material 3, but like the same does exist for views as well.
Just give
So
us
yeah,
all
there's
the
a lot of these
links.
things.
All the links.
Yeah.
All the links.
Show notes are going to be
Yeah.
off the chain.
Yeah, but the more people that know about these resources, the better. So
yeah,
that's kind of the whole point.
Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't remember if I have already cloned the Android X repository. No, I don't. I think
yeah,
I had
that's,
it before I formatted last time. Too bad.
Well, if you have an emulator with Google Play on it.
Yeah, no, I think this one is a Play emulator. Yes. Oh, I don't have an account.
Oh,
Okay, I'll send it. Give me a second. Just keep talking. I'll send it. I have a test account I can use, so it's okay.
Nice. Yeah, what I was gonna say, like one thing I actually wouldn't mind getting back to when we've taken a look maybe at the catalog was we're gonna use the material theme builder to like adapt some app colors. And the reason I bring that up is because one of the other sample apps we released at ADS, an update to the sample app released at ADS was JetChat, the Compose sample app, which is like a chat app. And that was chosen as one app that we could update to Material 3 and include dynamic color and all the new components that were available for a couple of reasons. I don't know. The nice reason is that, well, it's a chat app, like it's perhaps more neutral in its approach to branding. It can use dynamic color, and it really did work for it from like a looks point of view. The other answer is that, interestingly, before even we considered migrating it to Material 3, the actual Material 3 components available mapped almost one-to-one with the components that the app was already using. So we're like, seems like a pretty good candidate for a Material 3 update. But yeah, an interesting part of that was, yeah, exactly. An interesting part of that was like, we already had an M2 version of the app, which had its like primary blue color and like yellow color. And we adapted that for Material 3 to use as like fallback on other devices below Android 12. So like if it doesn't use dynamic color because it's not an Android 12, like what color scheme does it use? Does it use just the purple, or does it use like those all the Jetpack colors, and how do we use those for Material 3? So it was an interesting exercise to like take those like existing M2 brand colors, use the material theme builder in a way to like create this broader palette, and then have that as the fallback on devices that don't have dynamic color, i.e. below Android 12. But I see on screen
I have given up on the emulator
the
because apparently I don't remember the test account password. But I have a Pixel 3, so visor to the rescue.
Nice. Very nice.
So it's the first one?
Yep. So yeah, this is this catalog app. But now the question is, does your Pixel 3 have Android 12?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I am relatively sure that no, it does. It definitely does.
Yeah.
Looks
That's
like Android
very,
12,
very round.
Yes. It might take some time to install this for whatever reason. Maybe it's doing some updates. I don't know.
You mentioned that when there are more development on relative component, then somebody also updates the catalog, right? To keep it like
Up to date.
aligned. Yes, that also triggers a build to this app, or do you have a different release cycle for the app on the Play Store?
Yeah, so that's a pretty good question.
Jesus,
Like
Sebastian, it's gonna be a moment to update everything.
I am not updating everything, don't worry. I was just checking if there was anything that was being updated. But yeah, people don't see that, so don't talk about it. It's fine.
Sorry.
At least he keeps bundle up to date, but apps on his phone.
This is a test phone. I turn it on every other week, so.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So like, because it lives in AOSP and Android X, like there's almost like a build. I think a build is triggered for almost every commit into AOSP. So like, and there's a little like Gradle task that spits out an APK as one of the build artifacts. However, the release train to get it onto the Play Store is separate, and it's something that I'm responsible for. And I typically go for like, I try to release perhaps when there's a big release of the library itself. Alternatively, maybe once like every alpha comes out, but it tends to be just for like major releases of the library.
Okay, so there's no things like, continue delivery kind of thing that it's always like pushing a new release every.
I mean, it's probably what I should be doing, and maybe a good idea.
Oh well, no, I'm not suggesting that. I was just curious because that's you have to understand that that's lazy Ivan talking, and lazy Ivan is like, we have continuous delivery because Ivan can't be bothered to pick a version number, so he's just constantly pushing the CI build number as a version number. Yes, constantly releasing shit. But
I'm also just looking for ideas out here for my 2022 OKRs. I don't know what I'm doing. So, no, I'm joking. But that would be the ideal case, I think. And it's actually a pretty nice future improvement idea. I will just also add that like releasing an app under the Google Play account is not as easy as doing it in your own personal capacity.
Yeah,
I wonder why.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna put that out there as a slight hurdle.
We appreciate whatever you release.
Yeah.
Don't worry, my friend.
By the way, I finally got the app installed. So
okay. So nice. I guess probably like there's the one block there called color, which is maybe kind of an interesting one, but like it's just a demo of a color scheme. And what's interesting here is now that if you go to that little theme icon at the top right and choose to use dynamic color as the color mode, then you'll see that it has now changed all those colors, and those colors should be coming from your app's wallpaper. I don't even know what your your phone's wallpaper is, but
feet.
If you go, yeah, I'm wondering how that was chosen. But if you were to change from feet to
not feet,
I don't know, some nice green grass or something, and then go back to the app, it should change.
I have non-feet items. Which one do you seagull or flowers?
One. Flowers, because then maybe you'll see a bit of red.
You would be surprised how little red it picks up.
Wow.
Yeah, this is what you get.
I'm thinking something a little more
spicy. No.
Yeah, purple. Like a green, maybe.
Okay.
We'll see a change.
I mean, I can still go back to.
No. That's like. Can you have like?
Well, I guess I can just do this.
Oh yeah, you can do that.
That also works.
That's a good idea.
There you go. Ah, green.
Yeah, there. And you'll notice that like the app itself, the background is like a slight shade of green now too. So, and even the sheet, if you pop it up, the theming sheet, it also takes on a bit of the color. So like, yeah, some of these, it's kind of cool, I guess. And
I mean,
so you
this
can
is what
browse the
I meant when I say, if you are building an app that has a strong use case and like weaker branding, I would say, right, where you want to solve the issue instead of being fancy because you picked a very fancy fuchsia color or whatever, like
yeah,
this is cool, right? This is cool. You get, because I mean, in my experience, I met a lot of people that were working on emerging countries where they customize the system in a heavier way that we usually do, right? I mean, I never
yeah,
set a Samsung theme like, oh yeah, I want to customize my theme. It's just always the same stuff, right? If it's not the vanilla one, it's I mean, pretty much close to it. But as Coding Pizza was saying in the chat, you see people that customize the font in WhatsApp. Everything is super custom because
yeah.
so the explanation that they gave me was emerging countries, they often have like a low end phone, so they customize it incredibly heavily to
Yeah.
make it stand out, right? To make it stand out somehow. So they get very committed to customize everything, and this will look cool, right? You have a splash screen and a few apps, they look like your wallpaper. You said wallpaper, and then everything kind of looks like your wallpaper.
Yeah.
It could be worth investigating for a lot of indie developers. Pretty sure that Ferrari is not gonna pick on the dynamic theming because they are kind of fond of their red. But you get the idea, right?
Yeah. I mean, and this is like, that's the thing though, with this, and it's an interesting point, is that like you've got on the one hand users, and like customization for users is like this broad spectrum, like of like some folks just want like the stock look, other folks want to change literally like the font, the scale, the color, the everything. So it's difficult to like pin down customization to one particular like style or even one audience. And then on the other hand, you've got the app, which is this sort of like space on a user's phone that like they spend some time in, and they too want to like, create a sense of brand and like make it feel like you're in the Ferrari app. And then like on top of that, the like third player in all of this is like the actual OS and Android itself that like has its own identity. So like finding a median between all of those is tricky. And actually, now that you've mentioned it on the note of like, Ferrari probably wouldn't use dynamic color, it does bring me back to the thing that I was speaking about of like wanting to go to that material theme builder and like generate a custom palette so that we could actually see maybe how Ferrari might do it. So maybe we can do that as a little exercise. I was going to say let's do it for Jet Chat because that's what I had to do. But in actual fact, I'm thinking maybe we could like drop in some Ferrari-like colors and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean,
just in case.
There's a good. There was a link. I also put the Figma plugin.
Yeah, there's a Figma plugin, and then there's also the web tool. Whatever's easiest for you folks.
1 second, I'm doing a very important change on the emulator that people can't see. Well, it's not the emulator, the actual thing, but yeah.
Back to feet. Oh no, okay.
No. Well, I guess to a point, yes. There are feet there, so okay. Setting wallpaper takes time, but it's very important. There you go. Yeah. You asked for it. You got Spike on the phone. There's 2 spikes on the screen now.
That was 5.
Okay.
So it's you know what? It's 19 euros well spent. It was the webcam was a good investment.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very.
Oh, I thought you were
By the
saying
way,
that Spike costs
consider how
19
dark
euros.
is this? Yeah. I mean, I only do cheap webcam. I don't care. I believe with good lighting and a lot of machine learning and software, you can do a lot of good things. I'm a hashtag not a gatekeeper. I don't want to. Oh yeah, you need a reflex to do like a stream. No. You can do it whatever you want.
You're
With
kind
very
of trying
little.
to put words in my mouth that I've never said in my life.
No. I'm just messing with you.
I know.
And I know that you're using the camera because you cannot go out anymore because of this COVID madness. So
Yeah.
I feel for you.
That sucks.
But I also want to mess with you as I can.
Thank you.
But I like the idea. I like the idea of trying to have the material team builder with something that has a lot of branding to have an idea how will it look. Something very
that's
specific.
a good idea.
Things that come to my mind. Ferrari has the red. Duolingo has the green. It's a very specific green. If you're familiar with Germany, T-Mobile, they have a very specific, I think it's fuchsia kind of thing.
Yeah, in the US as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very, very, very specific colors for.
I mean, Bundle has a very specific green.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's not the same of the Ferrari's red. But
It's well known.
I appreciate.
It took years for Bundle to perfect the perfect green. They went out and studied plants and tweaked hex values and
Thank you for the sub,
Yeah.
Sumit. Yeah, it took me a good 5. I wanted to say minutes, but that's probably not true.
No.
It's not.
It was.
Sorry, Mark. No. Wait.
It's just
it's radioactive. It's not green. Please, let's be specific. I think it's Pantone.
It's not green. It's not green.
Pantone. Oh man.
So where do I go?
I guess
what?
Well, first of all, let's decide which app we're gonna do. I see I actually don't mind. Like, would you want to do Ferrari? Which I don't even know what the Ferrari app looks like, to be honest. But I do know what the Duolingo app looks like, and I do know what the
the hash code,
the T-Mobile. I just memorize hex codes out here. That's part of my job, basically.
Yeah.
But Duolingo. Cool. So, that Duolingo green is
very
quite
green,
prominent. So, yeah. I do not know what the hex code is, but if we have a color dropping tool, that could be.
Yeah, but I'm quite sure that. Yeah.
There we go.
I'm lazy.
Yeah, so here we've got a good amount of, I think, primary, secondary-esque colors. So let's maybe see if we can take these and put them into the theme builder tool for a custom theme.
Do I still have it open? Is it this one? No, this is the blog post.
Yep.
Well, it's here. I have it. Yes, I have it.
Someone in the stream. So in this case, you've got your key colors on the left. You've got a visualization of what it might look like in the middle, and then you've got your theme on the right, and you can export that as in Compose or for views like XML. But I think it's quite nice to visualize it. So here, if we drop in that hex code.
Yeah, I wish. I'm gonna have to be a bit low tech, I guess.
You have the RGB values, nice.
Yeah, I just moved the. I don't see you anymore, but now I see a lot of green on the other screen, so that's fine.
A green screen, so to speak.
Nice.
And
so
I think then there's that other green, that slightly secondary green, which I might use here as the secondary one. Cool.
and then the other one was the grayish color. It's
I'd
like-
probably use the gray here. Yeah, potentially. It
or
might
as a neutral.
be considered. Perhaps for the neutral, we can just use like a white
Okay.
color.
Yeah, they have white brand color, so
Yeah.
we can just do that. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So what it's now sort of spat out is a theme for you that has taken on these primary and secondary colors and expanded it a bit. So like it creates these like tonal palettes from each of these colors and then maps them to a certain slot in this theme. And there is a visualization in the middle.
But this looks
go for
like
it, Alex.
nothing like the colors we chose.
Yeah, so there is that. It's, I guess in this case, you could see these colors as like the start and the key colors that you would use, but then the actual palettes that you get out are designed to like A, kind of look good in a Material 3 ecosystem, and B, meet accessibility like contrast guidelines.
Yeah. But I also wonder, I mean, if you look at the dark theme, there is the tertiary, that's like a blue. Like, where is this thing coming from?
I mean, it's coming
I mean,
from...
there is...
That is something I'm also wondering for myself right now. And if I'm honest with you, I don't really know.
Can you change the tertiary color?
Sorry, I'm going to refresh it and redo it because I don't know. It kind of looked broken. So you never know.
Let's give it another shot.
You never know. I mean, it probably wasn't broken, but it didn't look anything like the one we chose. So I was wondering whether it got stuck somehow. It's just not the right.
There is also to consider that you are not coding today, so something has to break at
That
some
is
point,
very
right?
true. That is very true. Like it would be a tradition for things to break. And
yeah, but jokes aside, look at that. You know, the
Okay, no,
bluish...
so I think I know what's happening here. So actually, we should be putting in like not a neutral color into the tertiary slot.
Okay.
So I would
That's
probably just use the same for
fine.
secondary and tertiary.
But they have this color, so we can pick any of those, I guess.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Fox?
Yeah, sounds good.
255,
yeah,
150.
orange.
Should work with the green.
Yeah, sounds good.
So there you go.
That looks a bit better.
Okay.
So this looks a little more like what we would expect, but now that the outlying blue is out of there, like if you kind of like zoom out, for me, it's okay, not the exact colors you put in, but it has effectively taken each of those colors and created like a tonal palette up to like 10 different tones. So like very light and very dark of that primary green. And same goes for that secondary green and that tertiary orange. And then it's in an opinionated way, like mapped those colors to the various slots in your theme, like primary, tertiary, primary container, and so on and so forth. And this does so for light and dark theme in different ways, so that there's like contrast, and then so that it almost feels at home amongst other apps that are using like Material 3 and in particular dynamic color, because the algorithm behind the scenes is like kind of the same. It's just as if you're getting colors from manually input colors as opposed to from a wallpaper. That makes any sense.
Yeah.
And this is taking care of accessibility, right? So I can be sure you are at some level you can guarantee that the readability is okay, contrast is okay.
Yeah, that is
because you say that those are opinionated picked colors. So I assume that the algorithm is doing that kind of calculations, right?
Exactly, yeah. So like in this case, well, actually, like if you think back to the theming system in Material 2, you were responsible for picking, let's say, color primary. But then there was this other slot called color on primary. And you kind of had to just decide, like, is my color primary, like, what color should I use here so that it's accessible with my color on primary? And while tools exist to do that sort of thing, like checking contrast ratios, like quite a few web tools exist for that. Like in this case, it's doing some of that work for you. Yeah. I see we're now heading towards more of a Ferrari-esque theme. I don't know what about it is Ferrari-esque. I can't quite tell.
But this is something that Maya was saying in the chat, and I actually hoped they will do it. But now Sebastiano is tuning the red, and the builder is getting very confused.
I mean,
or I don't know if he's getting confused, but is struggling.
I guess this is like the scenario where you have one brand color and you have to use that one brand color, right? You set all the primary, secondary, and tertiary to a brand color.
The same.
Yeah. In that case, then I would probably do the same actually. There is.
But they are gonna give you so much shit for the dark team, Sebastiano. For the...
Whee!
Oh my God, that's not our red. You done. People are not gonna buy our cars anymore. Yeah, definitely. That's the discriminating factor for me to buy a Ferrari, the app.
You never know.
But jokes aside, this is
and I think I noticed in Bundle that you were using the exported code from this tool, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Something somewhere. This stuff. Yeah. There was not from this, but from the Figma plugin, but I guess it's essentially the same thing, right?
Yeah, it is. It basically has the same backend and there's two different front ends.
We were playing with it a bit, where we had the generated thing from the wallpaper.
Feet.
Yes, #feet. You know what? I think we need to make a sticker of the feet or something, because that.
Yeah, we need to do some swag, like like a
holographic
beach towel.
I just imagined like a keychain. You know, the squishy ones.
Oh,
like silicone
we can
feet.
We can do. I don't know.
That's gonna age really well. I can just see.
Yep.
Gonna be like like a hoodie instead of the Lacoste crocodile. You will have like feet here,
embroidered foot.
Ralph Lauren polo by Ralph Lauren kind of thing with the feet. Yeah.
You can just have like feet by feet.
Yes.
Yeah, like feet by Code with Italians. In a very, very more like parfum commercial kind of thing.
Yeah. So, by the way, this is the color scheme that we got from the Figma plugin by using our Material 2 colors. So, we didn't really have a tertiary, so it went with a generic teal-ish thing.
Yeah, I guess in these sorts of cases where you don't have a color that like you particularly think is tertiary, like I tend to either repeat the primary or the secondary color. Because then some of the defaults may not really work.
But tertiary is something that it's a bit confusing for me on with Material 3, because for a few years I tried to design hear me out. I tried apps with you had like a primary color and then you had like some sort of accent color. So it was an easy word for me. There was like the main color and there is something else.
Yeah.
Now with tertiary, I was like, okay, now I like blue and orange. Okay, but now what I use for tertiary, and I was like, that's why I'm struggling so much with this, and that's why I'm putting some hope into like more like dynamic kinda. Okay, let me of like outsource the decision making on colors. Because
yeah, I mean that's
it's
your
hard.
you're on that side of the spectrum where you like would prefer less colors, and then you have folks on the other side of the spectrum like Duolingo who arrive with like 12 brand colors that are like all over the show. Like it's, I guess tertiary is almost that like extra slots to cater for most people, but like at the end of the day, like I suppose some folks will use it somewhere, and then other people might even need much more than just a tertiary. So yeah,
I guess you can always
color
add
theming is hard.
custom colors, right?
Exactly. You could expand upon that, like add additional colors. In fact, one of those sections we added to at least the Compose theming documentation on developer.android.com is a new section on custom design systems, like how you can either expand the Mutterial theming design system or create something entirely new if you wanted to. So those options do exist in Compose and in Views. So yeah.
Maya's mentioning on the chat that she remembers seeing an image which said the percentage that primary, secondary, and tertiary colors should be on the screen. Do you know of that?
No, I do not, to be honest.
Should we make that up now? I would
Yeah,
say 45,
sure.
25, and whatever's left. I'm too lazy to do the math.
30?
And the rest.
Yeah, whatever, YOLO.
45, 25, 15.
30?
There you go. And then the rest is just neutral filling background stuff. I don't know. But there probably is some science behind that. I can just say I definitely don't know. Good question though.
There's some from other design system doc somewhere. Yeah, maybe it was. So, I mean, we're kind of running out of time. We can keep going if you want, but I also don't want to steal all of your Sunday afternoon / evening / morning / whatever you're watching this. So
yeah,
if there is something else
covered a lot, eh?
Yeah, if there is something else that you think we should cover, of course. If there is anything else that you think we should cover, then let's do that. Otherwise, yeah, maybe you can come back with when the beta's out. That also works.
That'd probably be a good idea. I probably have a lot better answers to these tough questions, to be honest. Like, but I think like, yeah, we've been through some of like the concepts behind Material 3, like how to deal with the realities of it now, in the fact that it's like still, in a sense, like catching up to Material 2. And the reason behind why that is, like, just given that there's a lot of work that's going into it. We'll link like a lot of these resources, like sample apps and docs and other videos and stuff in the show notes, I'm sure. But at this point, like, I think we've covered quite a bit. It was quite a fun exercise also to see like putting in some brand colors, which I know you did for Bundle, but like the Duolingo or Ferrari, and like how to fiddle with this tool to like make it work for you. Because yeah, that was also something we had to do for JetChat and catalog and so on. So I think it's been good. I think we've covered a lot, so I'm happy.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy as well. I think we managed to cover a lot of things that we didn't manage to cover in the first 2 times we talked about Material 3, which is always good. And I think there's still quite a lot of stuff that we can go over if you want to come back when the beta's out, or really whatever. We're always happy to have folks back because we love our guests.
I do love seeing dogs and feet and also being in shows coding with people. So yeah.
Well, you can come back for more dog, more feet, and more coding then.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm not making it any better.
It's been really fun, and like the audience has been super cool with their questions. Like, I guess thanks to them also for like engaging so much and asking these things, because like these are the things we like. Knowing which questions we need answers for is also pretty important. So, yep.
I think we are running the best free user study for Google a lot of times.
I mean, who knows where these like subs and Italian points and all of that are going? It may not be free.
I don't know. I think at some point I'll need to call someone at Google HQ and be like, you should sponsor, really.
Well,
Oh.
I mean, that could be
Now
a
that you
performance
mention it,
review
so now that you
impacting task.
mention it,
You see? Win-win. Synergy created live.
I will talk to my manager.
In the meantime, Ivan, do you want to give away some stuff?
yes. So we just ran the giveaway for IntelliJ. Congratulations, Daryl, for winning the IntelliJ discount code. We are going to reach out to you.
Congrats.
Because congrats, and let's run also the stickers. Sticky, blah, 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 blah. Boom. Congratulations, Rebecca, for getting some pizza sticker, and if I remember correctly, you won. You also are a subscriber. You also get the holo sticker. Because now I have the dog. I need to.
The usual spot is occupied by the dog.
Yeah. So, but congratulations everybody for participating, and keep staying with us. Stickers are gonna come to you for free. And thank you for the support. Thank you, Maya, for the donation. Thank you, Mark, for being an awesome subscriber and a troll. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video. the usual thing.
It never gets old.
No, just kidding. But yes, it's important. We have a very strict schedule, so even if you don't get the notification, I mean, videos are gonna come at the same hour every week. So even if you don't want to ring the bell, we really don't mind. But to join the IntelliJ giveaway, you need to be a subscriber. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
Nick, thank you a lot.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, we had to do that live. I mean, the amount of views that were coming through my Twitter notifications today was crazy.
Sorry,
but yeah, it was really cool. Nah, it was great.
Thank you again for being with us. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for all the jokes. Thanks I want to say thanks to Spike for being extra cute today. Now that he knows he's on camera, I think Ivan has explained that to him before. It's like, you're on camera, act cute.
Sure. And that's why he slept belly up for half of the episode. Yes.
Oh, look at him. Okay. We need to close it. Otherwise, I'll spend the rest of the day just looking at Spike. Okay.
Yes. Money well spent.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Just a heads up, we had to postpone the stream we were supposed to be having with Chris Cinco about design. Unfortunately, he had a work meeting that was clashing, so we have moved it to the next slot. But we'll figure out something to do.
Meetings.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you do it on a Sunday.
Yeah, but it's a bit early for someone that is currently in a Y. That's complicated.
It's 5 in the morning.
Yeah. We'll do something on Wednesday. We don't know what yet. Might end up like last Sunday where we just like ask you what you want us to do. That was fun. So we might actually do it again. If you have ideas, just let us know in the chat or on Twitter. So we can show up not 100% unprepared, but maybe only 98% unprepared. So that's that's always a good idea. And with that, have an awesome rest of your day, everyone, and see you on Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.